In the year 2080 AD, a boy was born in the west of Africa during the Keita Dynasty. That boy would grow up to become the wealthiest man on earth. How wealthy, you wonder? Well, even if you combine the fortunes of our two current billionaires, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, their wealth would still not match that of this individual. Meet Mansa Musa of Mali, a 13th century sultan of West Africa and one of the wealthiest person to have ever walked the earth. In Mandinka, the language spoken across West Africa, Mansa means sultan or emperor. Even though Mansa Musa inherited a kingdom that was already wealthy, his fortune sprung from discovering huge salt and gold reserves in the Mali kingdom. It's hard to accurately calculate the wealth derived from gold, salt, and land, but most historians agree that he was richer than anyone could describe, with a possible wealth of around 400 to 500 billion, and that's just a rough, vague estimate. During his reign, the Empire of Mali accounted for over half of the gold in the Old World. His wealth was considered incomprehensible, a king so wealthy that his generous donations of gold and riches affected the economy of an entire nation for 10 years. Imagine being so rich that your charity causes hyperinflation. Join us as we journey through the life of the wealthiest man in history. From his ascension to the position of sultan over a kingdom that spanned 2,000 miles from the Atlantic to present-day Niger, to his renowned 4,000-mile pilgrimage with a colossal entourage bearing mountains of gold, the real King Midas. So who was Mansa Musa? Much of Musa's information comes from Arabic sources, written after his famous pilgrimage to Mecca. On his journey, he befriended officials in Cairo who learned about him and his country, and eventually passed that information onto historians. He was born into a ruling family and ascended to power in 1312 AD after his brother Mansa Abu Bakr stepped down from the throne to embark on a sea voyage. His brother set sail with a fleet of roughly 2,000 ships, carrying thousands of men, women, and slaves, but he never returned. And Mansa Musa, who is in his brother's absence, took care of the kingdom, was then anointed as the West African Kingdom's 9th Sultan. And under his 25-year reign, the kingdom would reach its territorial pinnacle. Musa's early reign was marked by constant military warfare with neighboring kingdoms. Historians reported that he never lost a battle, and some territories willingly joined the Mali Empire due to the improved quality of life. As a result, the Mali kingdom expanded greatly. He seized control of 24 cities, including Timbuktu. With such vast land came vast resources like gold and salt. He boosted trade in the area by mining salt and gold reserves and trading elephant ivory, accelerating his wealth expansion. Now we'll follow him on his extraordinary journey to Mecca. Musa was a devout Muslim, and his annual pilgrimage to Mecca, also called Hajj, was notable. Known as the most extravagant pilgrimage in human history, in 1324 AD, he traveled 4,000 miles on this religious pilgrimage from Niani to the Upper Niger to Walata, Tuat, and Cairo. His halt in Egypt would cause a stir. Musa was determined to publicize himself and his fortune to the world. He wanted to place Mali, relatively unknown outside of West Africa, on the global map, and this tour gave him the ideal opportunity to do so. According to reports, the Sultan left Mali with an entourage of 60,000 men. He brought his entire royal court, including officials, soldiers, performers, merchants, and 100 camels, each carrying 136 kilos or 300 pounds of gold, 12,000 slaves carrying 1.8 kilo or 4 pounds of gold bars each, as did heralds in silks with gold staffs, and a long train of goats and sheep for meals. Everything they required for the desert was brought with them, including a portable mosque that they would erect for the emperor to pray. A sight to behold, an entire city displayed in grandeur, marching through the sub-Saharan desert, from the king to the slaves, dressed in gold fabric and the finest Persian silk. Every time they halted, it appeared as though an entire town had set up camp in the desert. Musa was renowned for his generosity and piety. During his journey to Mecca, he gave out gold in bulk to anyone in need. It is stated that he gave out as much as 60,000 pieces of gold throughout his journey. He also traded gold for souvenirs. As a devout Muslim, Musa ordered the construction of a mosque whenever his caravan stopped every Friday throughout his voyage. This journey took him and his people through the Sahara Desert and Egypt. When Mansa Musa met the Egyptian Sultan in Cairo, his caravan spent and distributed so much gold that its price fell across Egypt for the following 10 years, making him the only man recorded in history to crash an entire region's economy through sheer generosity. Musa stayed in Egypt for a duration of only 3 months, and there are reports that even 10 years after his departure, the people of Egypt spoke highly of him, demonstrating the kind of impression he had left on the country's residents. On his return trip, Mansa Musa passed through Egypt once more. Some reports claim that he attempted to stabilize the unstable economy by borrowing some of the gold from Egyptian lenders at hefty interest rates. With his pilgrimage, Musa combined two of Mali's most defining characteristics: the centrality of Islam and the importance of its commerce routes. The newly established trade channels he and his caravan created promoted increased trade with the Muslim world. Musa's Hajj was a religious pilgrimage, but it was also an effort to develop intangible institutions that would solidify the empire's power without bloodshed, as was customary in medieval times. To dive into Mansa Musa's legacy, Musa's reign is frequently referred to as Mali's Golden Age, and it was during his reign that the Mali Empire's realm was at its largest. According to stories, Musa's empire was so vast at the time that traveling from one end to the other could take up to a year. Musa desired more than just wealth and power. He desired knowledge, so he returned from Mecca with various Islamic scholars, architects, and an Andalusian poet who had become a prominent member of his court. The Sultan reputedly paid 200 kilograms or 440 pounds in gold, equivalent to 8.2 million to the poet. Mansa Musa started reviving the cities in his empire, especially in places like Gao and Timbuktu, which he had included in his kingdom after passing through them on his route to Mecca. Musa built mosques and schools in Timbuktu and Gao as part of a massive construction project. The Sengkor Madrasa, now known as the University of Sengkor, was built during his rule, which is particularly noteworthy. The university was reported to have one of the most excellent libraries in the world at the time, with close to 1 million manuscripts. He contributed to Timbuktu's transformation into an epicenter of culture and education by building schools, libraries, and mosques. To construct his vast home in Timbuktu and the enormous Djinjaba Mosque, which is still standing today, he brought architects from Cairo. He constructed the Hall of Audience in Naini, the nation's capital. Connected to the royal palace by an inside door, it was an admirable monument topped with colorful arabesques. Silver and gold foil was applied to the upper and lower stories' hardwood window frames. The hall was made of carved stone, just like the Great Mosque, a contemporary and opulent building in Timbuktu. Mali boasted at least 400 cities at the height of its dominance, and the heart of the Niger Delta was quite heavily populated. One tale referred to Mali as a location of gold-generating plants, whose nuggets were picked like carrots because of its abundance. Stories of his fabulous wealth and generosity even reached as far as Europe. As a result, the Malian Empire provided the rest of the globe with a brilliant example of affluence, trade, and education. Mansa Musa had successfully put Mali and himself on the map, a remarkable drawing of an African king sitting on a golden throne in sub-Saharan Africa, holding a golden scepter in his left hand and gazing at a gold nugget in his right. Atop Timbuktu appears in a 1375 Catalan Atlas map. He would be remembered in history as a symbol of extravagant luxury long after he was gone. However, his wealth was only one aspect of his legacy. He would also be remembered for his remarkable generosity, piety, commitment to Islam, encouragement of study, and support for the arts in Mali.